What's up, everybody? This is DJ Thielen, CEO of Fortune Foreclosures, founder of Flipping on Demand, and your host of DJ Thielen Live. And today on the show, I have a great friend of mine and a massively successful entrepreneur, Mr. Brandon Dawson. What's up, buddy?
Hey, buddy. Glad to be on your show. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna rock these guys today, man, and share some good stuff, man. So, where are you at right now?
I am in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, hey, you and I met, for those of you, just to give you a backdrop on Brandon and I's friendship, we actually met at the 10X conference in, what was it, February?
Yeah, February.
In February, kind of sitting in a similar location. He had a little bit better tickets than me, but we'll get into that. And, but, you know, this is like the cool thing is, you know, when you put yourself, I think we'll get into that today, like putting yourself in position, like I talk about, you know, proximity, you know, putting yourself around the kind of people you want to be around, and good things happen, man. You make some good friends, and obviously, you know, grateful that you and I connected and had some things in common. So, hey, man, so thanks for being on the show, man. I know you're a busy dude.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Just got back from New York and East Coast. I did a 2-week East Coast tour, so I'm happy to be back on the West Coast.
Yeah, man. So, hey, share. I'm gonna. I shared with the people on the broadcast. You know, if they're listening or watching watching it or listening on the podcast. But share with the people really just a snapshot, I guess, on where you came from and how you got in. What made you kind of want to get into entrepreneurship?
Great question. So I grew up, I had the benefit, I always try to look at the most positive aspect of everything that happens in your life. But my parents divorced when I was 8, and my father was a pastor, and my mother was in the hearing care space, and she met a gentleman who started his own company and lived in Minnesota. So when I was 8 years old, I moved with her and my now ex-stepfather, but he became my stepfather in the late 70s, and he was an entrepreneur. So I had the benefit of growing up, going between an entrepreneurial family. He didn't have a successful business then. It became successful. Today he's on the Forbes billionaire list. And so he's been very successful. My mom worked alongside of him for 20 years, and I got to work. I learned that you do whatever you have to do. But then when I went and spent time with my dad and my stepmom, who was a pastor, I had to work in order to have gas for my car or do anything fun with my friends. And so at a very early age, I learned that if you want something, you can't sit around and wait for somebody to give it to you. You got to go get it. And I had an invaluable lesson when I was 15. I was with my parents and I got grounded for doing something stupid in high school. And they went on their summer trip and left me at home. And my job was to pick the walnut orchard. I don't know if you've ever picked walnuts, but your hands are stained for a month. And so I went to school one day when they went out of town, and I was grounded to doing that. And it was going to take weeks and a couple of weeks, and it was just a messy job. And I went to I saw a note on the senior class locker saying they were doing a senior fundraiser. So I went to the senior president of the senior class and asked them if they wanted to make a little extra money. And they said, sure. So I had them all come out on the first week, and my parents were gone. And they brought their family to help them because I told them they could raise $1,000 and pay for their whole class trip. And they went out and picked the walnut orchard clean. They bagged the walnuts. The parents that were there helping wanted to help, so they bought the walnuts. And my parents used to charge a price just enough to put us kids into private school because that was the money for tuition. And they were out of town, and I knew I was giving $1,000 to the senior class. And the parents were there saying they wanted to buy them. So I just hiked the price up almost double what they normally would charge. And I raised twice as much money. I didn't have to get my hands stained at all. And the orchard was picked completely clean, and everything was sold when my parents came home 5 days later. And I learned the power of scaling when I was 15. And I thought, why would anybody work any other way? And that set me onto my entrepreneurial path of wanting to do and build my own companies. And so I'm on my third iteration. I just sold it. I started it 15 years ago from scratch. And grew it organically, never raised a dime, never borrowed a dime, and grew it by helping independent business owners grow their businesses. And I sold it a couple years ago to a public company for $150 million. So
151, right?
151 million. Yeah.
Hey, 1 million, man.
It's an extra million. That's right.
Extra million. And so on that, you started your first company. So you sold your company, you built it up, you sold it for $151 million. What, in 2016?
Yeah, and that was my third company. My first company, I bought 100 businesses and franchised 1,000 and took it public when I was 29. I was the youngest guy to ring the opening bell of the American Stock Exchange as a high school graduate. And that business sold in 2002. And then 2 years later, I started this one that I just sold.
So that was, what was the name of that?
Sonus, S-O-N-U-S, yeah.
Yep, I saw that, yeah. So you grew that, started that in your late 20s.
Yep.
Sold that. So obviously, like, you had this, from the walnut orchard experience. Sounds like you realized kind of early on, and you and I have never talked about anything that we're talking about today. It's totally raw, off the cuff. So you realized at an early age, which a lot of us take to be, in our 30s, 40s, 50s, some people never realize, is it sounds like the power of leverage, the power of having a team, building a team, and being able to scale, because so many entrepreneurs are, solopreneurs.
Yep.
And I've been there. And once you're in that groove, it's so freaking hard to get out of it, because if you delegate something, you want to take control back. And so, which you probably see happen with businesses that you coach all the time. And so let's talk about, I guess, that standpoint. Now, you also, we're going to share here in a little bit, you just started a company, you and Grant Cardone. Give a little tip on that, and I'll share more at the end.
Yeah, so Cardone Ventures, we launched it just last week. We've been working on this for a while. But one of the things that's near and dear to my heart is so many business owners, while they go through the process of, they, first of all, contextually, there's starting your business. A lot of people think that because they've started a business, and maybe a start is 5 years into the cycle. I call it cycles, but first thing, you have to start a business, right? And then you got to start growing the business. Then at some point you have to scale the business. People get confused about the difference between scaling and scale. Scale is maximizing what you already have. It's pausing the growth cycle, and it's making sure that everything you do is working at the top 80th percentile of success, and that you understand what that looks like. And once you understand that, then you bring in people, key people. And this is where what you talked about, solopreneurs get stuck here. This is the whole challenge and the biggest opportunity. Bringing in others and teaching them to do exactly what you're doing to reach that same 80th to 90th percentile of success in the whatever you've hired that person to do, and understanding what that success looks like, so that when you go to scaling, which is rapid expansion, you have a blueprint for each person that contributes to the business at the highest contribution. And most people just go and hire people and then try to go run crazy doing what they're doing, and they invariably break. And so Grant and I have seen this so many times. There are technical aspects to growing your business, and you got to understand those technical aspects, which I call cycles. Everyone's in a cycle. And most people think, okay, I start something, now I got to go to scaling. Well, they miss 2 cycles. And they break. And so at that point, they either bring a lot of partners on, they start diluting their equity, they borrow money that buries them, they start making everybody in the business a fractured partner, and starts giving equity to all my key employees. They bring on another contributor and give them half the business. All this crazy stuff because they technically went about their growth incorrectly. And I call it the devaluation abyss. So at different points of the growth cycle, it could be 0 to 5 million, and then 8 to 12 million, and then 12 to 20 million, and 20 to 50 million. People that don't have awareness and understanding, because they haven't technically done it before, start making decisions when contraction in earnings start to happen, or they start struggling increasing sales, and then they start doing radical stuff, which dilutes their value proposition, their equity, their control of the business, their ability to manage the business. And so they start focusing on all these things that aren't actually relative to the growth of the business, and they get they get sidetracked. And so they usually then retreat. And when they retreat, they peg in their mind, it's hard to do, or I don't know how to do it, or you can't hire good people, or nobody that I bring on knows what they're doing, or everyone's taking something from me while I'm trying to build this thing. And they create a mindset that positions them for a long-term struggle. And Grant and I have seen this thousands and thousands of times. And I've helped so many business owners through a leadership program I have. I've run almost 500 business owners through that. And I've seen them grow their businesses by 5, 10, 15, 20 times in value effortlessly versus strenuously. And it's just a frustration and a passion for me. And because that company I took public, I was, after 7 years of grinding, it was just getting ready to dominate. And my public, because I was a public company and a majority of my equity was owned by a $12 billion private equity firm. They called me one day and they said, man, you're just getting ready to kill it. We love it, but you got to sell the company. And I went from the peak of my career in May of 2001, just accomplished like the biggest deal of my life. The business has finally started figuring everything out. We got the right people and we're just getting ready to dominate. We had no competition. And my largest investor says, we need to sell the company. And I said, I'm not selling the company. And they said, that's what every CEO says. So your replacement CEO is coming out in 2 weeks and he's going to sell the business. And he came in and sold the business for half of what it was worth. And I said, this is so crazy. And what I did is the new company I started was basically the same business. I had to wait out my non-compete. And I said, these guys don't know what they're doing. I had to be more creative on how to do it because I lost all my leverage. But the point there is I made a decision personally that no one was ever going to control my destiny again. And my passion, and I've helped so many entrepreneurs be able to break through all that, family businesses, when you put stress on a business or you put friction, it creates so much anxiety.
Yeah.
And anxiety creates so much insecurity that families start getting split apart or great people start leaving. And so if we can alleviate that in its entirety and help people understand the technical aspects of growth and give them the tools and resources to do it, Grant and I said it's behooving upon us to put ourselves out there and do that as a team. And so we launched Cardone Ventures to do just that.
Wow, man. So you guys have Cardone Ventures, which is obviously you just explained it. And man, it's so funny because I'm still going through some of the things that, and you and I can talk, I'll get some help from you, but it's so, it's kind of like what you said with businesses, right? You can see them like, and they're going, well, I'm doing this. They're only doing what they know and they don't know because they've never done it. And it's like the same thing, be it in real estate or wholesaling or flipping with our academy. I see people all the time like, oh, I'm doing this. It's like, okay, you're doing that because that's what you were told and that's all you know. Let me show you the right way to do it, a different way to do it, but the right way that you can really go quick. So
and how many of those people, when you propose that to them, go, well, no, or I like the way I'm doing it, or like they've already created this mechanism to because they've been so burnt, they're so fragile emotionally that they don't actually want to listen to good constructive advice.
Yeah. I mean, it's well, and I think that's a unfortunately or fortunately, unfortunately, whatever, that's a lack mindset. Not an abundant mindset. And I mean, we were at the 10X conference and there was a guy who I became good friends with who's probably going to watch this, Ricky O'Donnell. Did you meet Ricky?
I don't.
He's the one that Ty Lopez ripped his website apart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And what did he do? Right. This guy is, built a very successful companies. He went out home that night or to his hotel, fixed it, came back the next day and it was fixed instead of going, oh, this guy's ripped me, screw him. And, and I think that's the, even with you, when you and I met, we just talked about like, hey, you're from Camas, Washington, it's like, right. And we just kind of connected, started talking and that led to a good friendship. But it was like, I think like with what you're saying, it's so valuable, man, that businesses, it's something that's needed. I don't know anyone that's doing it at the level that you guys are going to do it, where you go in, you work with entrepreneurs and it's like, hey, this is exactly proven strategy, exactly what you need to do to grow and scale your business to the point that you're really a true business owner, because people get stuck in the S quadrant, right? The self-employed, I'm doing everything. if it's got to be done, no one can do it like I can. If it's got to be done, you got to, you got to do it yourself, right? Or whatever.
All those mindsets are self-induced because they failed in the technical aspect of onboarding and delegating versus abdicating responsibility to each contributor. So when business owners hire people and throw them at projects, assuming those people will be as aligned and skilled as the business owner, or sometimes they're more skilled than the business owner, and the business owner tells them to do it differently because they're not skilled. But once they start surrounding themselves with people that they don't actually empower, they don't inspire, they don't align, and they don't intentionally onboard, and they don't understand specifically what success looks like, so the employee doesn't know what success looks like, and then couple that with each new person they're bringing on board, so they're actually working synergistically and complementing each other. When the owner, who's responsible for all this, doesn't do it, then they sound like that. And for me, I'm a surgeon. All I have to do is ask one question of a business owner. I know exactly what the problem is. I mean, this is not rocket science, but when you understand what's ailing somebody, you understand what the fix is. Mm-hmm. And my question to any business owner is, if you go backwards 3 years, and you projected forward to where you're standing right now, here today, out of a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I've exceeded, 1 being I haven't even come close, on a scale of 1 to 10, what number would you put on the success you've had so far in achieving your dreams 3 years ago? And when they say 3 or 5 or 8, if someone says it's an 8 or 9, then I ask them, what did that number look like? And if they say, oh, I wanted to grow 20% or 50% or double my business, I know they weren't thinking big enough. I mean, in 3 years, if all you want to do is double in 3 years, you're not thinking very big.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, no, and you got to get around some people that can enlarge that vision, and so you guys, so give for those people that are listening or watching the show or are going to watch the replay, which is going to be, hundreds of thousands of people over the lifetime of this, maybe millions. Can you give a quick snap or, a quick, I guess, bird's eye view, like a quick snapshot for an entrepreneur, a business owner, like a few, click on it from starting to actually getting to the point of scaling? I think you touched on it earlier. What can people do that are a solopreneur, are a real estate agent, have their own business, want to be an entrepreneur, are an entrepreneur, but they're not growing at the level they want, that they can do? And basically just a quick, like maybe a short blueprint on what you guys share with people. Are you able to do that?
Yeah. So I like to use an analogy because I think it's easier for people to relate to. I think most people's point of focus when they start their business is already way too small because they're thinking about what they can accomplish. If my goal is to go out and replace my income so I don't have to have a job, or my goal is to go out and make $1 million a year of income, and I go and I do that, that was my goal. And that's what I learned. That's what I strived to do. And when I'm hiring people, that's what I talk about. So if I need help to do that, I talk about the fact that my goal is to get $1 million, or my goal is to do this, or my goal is to do that. So already when I start talking about my goals, and my goals, relatively speaking, are small, although they may seem huge for where you're starting at. Mm-hmm. How can you possibly attract higher thinking and higher doing people to help you accommodate achieving those goals if there's not enough room for them and their goals? So you already start hiring people who are going to contribute at a mediocre level because they just want a job.
Yeah.
So what you need is, you think about this, and it sounds like this. DJ, I want to bring you on board because I'm aspiring to do this and I need someone helping me over there. And, I want you to do a good job of doing that. And I need you to make 50 calls a day to set up appointments for me to go see tomorrow. And, while I'm growing the business, you'll be able to do a little better yourself. And thank you for coming to work here. Okay. That's one way to bring people into your business to help you scale, right? Imagine though, if I started the conversation with, look, DJ, I want to build this thing to 10 million or 100 million. And the only way I can do that is to build the first million first. And if I build the first million, or when I build the first million, I have to build a team of people behind me that understand how to get to the first million. But once we get to the first million, my goal is going to be going to 10 million. Once I get to 10 million, my goal is going to be at 100 million. Now, the people that I bring in today that I personally get to work with will eventually be my best people because I will have spent the most time with them. Fair enough?
Mm-hmm.
So my job is to build a team of people that don't take me to 1 million. My job is to assimilate a group of people where we can work together to understand how to get to 1 million so that that team and I can go to 10 million. And when we go to 10 million, here's what it's going to mean to you, because you're now going to have 3, 4, 5 employees working for you. You're going to get overrides over everything that you and I are going to work hard at you doing at the highest level of impact so that you can then teach everybody else. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you behind me and we're going to draft to 100 million. And when we draft to 100 million, you're going to achieve your personal, professional, financial goals, and you won't have to leave here, because the first thing I'm going to do is identify what's important to you, and I'm going to show you how to build that while we build what I need to build. And we're both going to pursue our passions together, and we're going to conquer together, and then I'm going to teach you how to become and do what I just did with you. And so consequently, the business I sold, of my 9 vice presidents, they've all been with me between 12 and 15 years. And when I sold the business, they all made between $1 million and $5 million because I allocated profit shares to them. In fact, every single employee got paid, and 190 of my founding customers got paid. I distributed out 60 million of the sales proceeds the day we closed to every employee. And I had customers that got more money than they were in revenue when they first started working with me, because I created a shared equity model where I wanted to share with people that helped me succeed.
Wow.
I think the concept there is, when you're thinking small and you're talking about small things, you're going to get small people helping you accomplish it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's my analogy. If I want to have a dance academy that teaches thousands of dancers around the world, and I don't know anything about dancing, how do I do that? I have to sit back and put a plan together that says, what would give me the best vehicle? Well, if I got Dancing on the Stars, if I was able to get onto that show and I was able to win it, that would give me credibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I can't do that, what's the next 3 to 5 things that I could do that would give me credibility? And then you start thinking backwards, because the whole goal is to have thousands and thousands and thousands of global students in something that you really don't know how to do. Maybe you kind of know how to dance. So if I watch Dancing with the Stars and I watch the first episode with my 13-year-old daughter, I'm going to be able to see immediately who the star is and who the guest is, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to ask my daughter. But if I come in and just watch the final show, I'm going to have to ask, which one's the star, which one's the pro? Because by the time you get to the top 3, they're so excellent. Somebody who doesn't really understand wouldn't know who's who, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, all your listeners need to do is take that concept and say, show 1, final show, and identify the core values that allowed a person to come on the first show and be obviously a non-professional, but then get to the final show and look like a professional. And that would be things like discipline, regiment, practice, drill, practice, rehearse, diet, stretching. It'd be all the elements that someone would have to be able to incorporate in order to make that technical move, right?
Yep.
And once somebody's made those moves and now they make it on the final show, have they or have they not learned the blueprint to go from an amateur to go to somebody who's as good as a pro?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I want to have thousands of people, what do I need to teach?
The blueprint.
The blueprint, because I've learned it. How many of your business owners today that are listening to this, or future business owners, have created their own blueprint that they can transfer to anybody else to help them understand the elements necessary to succeed? This is the issue. So if all of a sudden I decide I want to be a solopreneur and I start banging out 100 calls a day to get a client, and I go get 3 clients and I close a client, I'm going to document that. And then all of a sudden, if I do 100 calls and I get twice as many opportunities and I close twice as many, because the more you do something, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
This is the whole process of drill, practice, and rehearse. Being on cue, paying attention to the details. What are the key things I said that caused somebody to respond in a way that was positive? And you document that every step of the way. And the focus isn't on getting to 1 million. It's having an absolute perfect blueprint of every element of everything I did that got me to 1 million. Once I've accomplished my goal, now I have to change my point of perspective. It's no longer about me. And this is where everybody gets hung up that you were talking about. This is where they all get stuck. This is where the false idea of it's all going to be about me. And it starts with the mindset was too small. If you really want to own a business and you want to go through the owner maturity model from owner doer to owner manager to owner investor, then you have to think like an investor. And an investor thinks, I want to get the maximum amount of value out of something with putting the minimum amount of effort in. Mm-hmm. But what investors are supposed to bring to the equation is structure and strategy and discipline so that people understand how to do it. So the goal isn't to get to 1 million. It's to have a blueprint that gets you to 1 million. It's to understand the exact things that allowed you to succeed at a granular level that compoundedly act together, even though you're the only one doing the work. Now, I take 10% of that and I give it to a person. And I sit with them and I explain the bigger picture. We're going to 10 million now. In order to get to 10 million, I need you to flawlessly and perfectly execute in this 10% or 20% of the business that I was doing, because that frees my time up. And in order to be able to afford you, I need to generate more. So now they have context to how they're adding value. Then you say, the goal here is to become an expert, for you to become an expert in this area of the business. And I'm going to align your personal, professional, and financial goals. If you want to go to training programs, I'm going to find the best training programs to help you. I'll make sure you don't fail. I'll make sure you understand how to accomplish these things at the highest level possible. Send them off to retreats so they can learn to do things. Make them feel valued that you're investing in them, and give them context that the whole point here is when you get to 10 million, you need them to be able to do the same thing with 10 other people. So now they're creating a blueprint on how they can contribute to you and how they need to teach the next person to do what you've taught them to do. Now you do that 10 times, you bifurcate the business into 10 different sections. Bifurcates 2, so you layer it, I'd say, into 10 sections, and you have 10 people doing that. Then now you're freed up to go do the close. So now you grow to 10 million. Now you have each one of those people understanding how do they work together, because they can see the process. Here's what I do, and here's how it feeds into the next element. Here's what that person does, and here's how it feeds into the next element. And you have a process that says 5 people or 10 people, here's exactly what you do to contribute. Here's what I do. Now, once you start getting that where you're at capacity doing what you do, you go to replication. You now bring somebody new in, or you pick somebody that's already in your system that you trust, that's going to night schools or going to extra programs because they want to do what you do, right? You have a natural filter. So if I learn to perfect those calls and my aspirations to be $1 million producer too, you say, good, you start there. And once you've developed 3 to 5 people underneath you, I'll start investing, sending you to those programs, and you can come up and work with me. So you have a very clear strategy of how to ascend in your organization so people can align with it, and they have context as to what they need to do to prove to you to invest in them so that they'll step forward and be an expert. Once you've replicated yourself once, I call it the power of 3. It takes 3 people that you replicate to perform at your level in general to remove yourself out of being a producer but maintain your income. So your whole goal in your building is having layered people that are experts at what they do, that have understanding context to how to replicate through delegation, not through abdication. And then you find the ones in the system that want to be next to you, that have proven themselves through dedication, hard work, and commitment. And you send them to the program, so you're investing in them. And then you build 3 of those people. So this has to be everybody's goal. If you think of a pyramid, at the bottom you have the base. You take your business into 5 functions. What is each of the functions of the 5 functions that allow me to put all my energy in the thing that matters the most? How do I build out each of those functions so they're easy to replicate, easy to understand, and people can do it at the top 80th percentile of success? Then you bust your ass as a single person. Then you bring somebody up, or you bring somebody new in, and now you replicate what you're doing. Once you've replicated yourself 3 times, which will add one other element at the base because they need help, because now you got 3 people, you have a system that you've designed. You're the trainer. You know, the worst mistake these business owners make is they bring in the new people and they give them to the worst performing people because they have the most time on their hands. They just crush the belief about what can happen and how to do it. So you got to create this system, and it's a flywheel. And now once you've replicated yourself once, you've learned how to transfer your knowledge. Then you bring the next person in and you do it again. Bring the next person. Then of the 3, you pick the one that is your absolute best, that's developed the best, that has learned how to train the best, and you put them in charge of onboarding the next person. See how this works? Mm-hmm. all those steps that I just talked about, people just go straight to, I'm a producer, I'm going to hire somebody, I'm going to put them in the business, and I'm going to abdicate, and they need to do their job, and then I'm going to go do more. And it all eventually starts to crumble because there's no foundation.
Oh yeah, man, we're gonna have to change the title to this. How to grow and scale your business. Yeah, because I mean that's obviously, like you speak on, I have my other screen here with all your stuff, belief, entrepreneurship, leadership, all that. But growing and scaling a business, man, it's something that I personally had a challenge and struggle with, and I can admit that. But it's so like you and Grant Cardone rolled out. You said that you guys announced Cardone Ventures, which is a program, course, mentorship on how to grow and scale your business. I'm sure 10x, right? 10x, 20x, whatever. But and you guys rolled it out on a pre-launch to quite
500 business owners. Yeah,
500 business owners, and they were. I can already imagine they were probably going, "Yep, that's my issue. Yep, that's my issue." I mean. And so it sounds like it was just a huge hit so far.
It was. And I think there's two tracks. There's the current track where you currently have a business. And then there's the solopreneur track that we're creating so that people can understand foundationally. Sometimes it's easier to go from one and learn this stuff and then amplify than it is to already have 30 or 40 and have to fix it and then go amplify. So we have a solo track we're creating that I'm building, and I have a current business owner track that I've already built. So but I don't think you have to change the topic of this, because here's the thing. Everything I just talked about is a mindset. So There are 3 elements that I talk about, which is what your show's about right now. So you have belief. All activity follows belief. The higher you believe, the higher you achieve. The lower you believe, the lower the effort and energy, so the lower you achieve. So if you don't have a really high belief, that's why when I use the example of Dancing with the Stars, my belief wasn't I can win the show. My belief is I want to have the single best platform for dancers around the world with thousands and thousands of dancers. So that's a bigger belief than I want to win a show. Versus I just want to get on the show, right? Like those are beliefs. So my activity will follow my beliefs, because what I think about is what I talk about. What I talk about is what I do. And what I do is the ultimate measure of my legacy at some point in time.
Yeah.
So whatever I'm thinking about is what my actions will show. And the universe can't help me if I'm thinking and talking small, because it's going to bring small things to me. Mm-hmm. Just like when we met, the reason we attracted to each other is because I wasn't saying to you, oh, I'm here because I just, want to see what this place has to offer. I told you I came here because I was thoroughly impressed by anybody that could put 35,000 people in the room, of people that are individual dreamers all the way to huge successful business owners, and somebody can attract those people in the room because it's such a high level of thinking to attract all those kind of people together. And the energy was one of self-awareness and self-production. Like people were showing up there wanting to take something from there that they can apply to their life. And Grant's frustration is the bigger your business is, the less depth that was available to you in the program. So he and I are like, let's do it. Let's bring that depth to everyone who needs it, everyone that wants it. But belief can only stay high if you have effectiveness behind it. If I have a high belief, I can go out and run a marathon, 50 marathons a year, and I don't go out and practice, and I don't go do anything, and I don't change my diet. And so I go run my first one and I can't even finish it. What's my belief about what I just said I could do? Is it going to be higher or lower?
Oh yeah, lower. And then it reinforces.
So I'm creating the belief now that it can't be done. Mm-hmm. So operational effectiveness is an absolute requirement to elevate belief. So if my job is to bring people into my organization and perform at the highest level of impact, and I believe everyone can do that because I've made their success easy and can show them how to do that, and then they do it, then I can believe, why stop there? Why not add 100 more people? If the people I bring in don't do well, they underperform, they're crushing my payroll, they're making it hard for me, they're poorly executing, which is a reflection, it's law of mirror. What you see when you walk in your environment is a reflection of what you've put into your environment. It's you.
Yeah.
If the effectiveness is strong, then your belief will elevate. And I say me leadership is all in belief. how much I lead myself to feel, think, and do differently, to develop towards my ambitions, my goals, whatever my stated objective. That's me leadership. When you get to high operational effectiveness and high belief, you have to have strong we leadership, because now I got to develop other people underneath me. And when my leadership is at an 8, 9, or 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, my operational effectiveness is a 7, 8, or 9. And my we leadership is a 7, 8, or 9. That's where expansion comes in. This is where scaling comes in. But if you don't have that mindset day one, and you think small and you be small and you do small and you talk small, then you will only attract small things to you.
Yeah.
If you're thinking huge, you got to put a plan in place to do it, which means then you can articulate the plan and invite people to come in and join along with you.
Yeah. And it's crazy because like none of this stuff we've talked about, but I'm and you'll probably relate to this. I was just sharing last week, I think, on our mastermind call for Real Estate Academy. It's be, do, have. Everyone got it backwards. They want to have things. Oh, if I just do a deal, right? If I can just do a deal, how's that working for you? It's been 3 years and you haven't done one. So they're trying to have before they become the person they need to become in order to get what they need to get. And that's why I'm so into like the Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. That's why I meditate, I exercise, I swim, I set my mind, my vibration right first thing in the morning and create a state of happiness, because having that vibration, it allows me, and this is what I've learned for me, is it's a be, do, have. I can't expect someone else to do something that I'm not willing to do. And so I have to be the best I can be in order so that I can attract people that want to be the best that they can be. Do you agree with that?
Well, absolutely. That's why you have this show. You know, the thing is, if you want to succeed, the fastest way to do it is find people that you can edify, and then that can be an example to you and you can learn from them. You've created a show so you can attract people into your mind, because as much as this is for your listeners and your viewers, this is really you programming your own mind about bigger things. And law of attraction, you are like the 5 people you spend your time modeling after. And if all your time is spent modeling after small thinkers, small doers, small beers, that's all you're going to become. And so what you've done is, maybe unconsciously or very intentionally, you've created a show where you're attracting high thinkers, high doers, high success people into your element, which is exactly why I went to 10X. I searched for hundreds of personalities and people and examples, and I found Grant because Natalie found Elena and fell in love with Elena. And then she said, you got to look at Grant. So I was looking at Grant. I was like, okay, I can relate. Plus, he's somebody that's accomplished something I haven't accomplished. So then you have to submit. You have to lower your ego. Great leaders are willing to lower their ego and submit to someone that's an example to them, because if you can't do that, you can't learn from them. Mm-hmm. People are too crowned up. They're too focused on their own thing. They're too embarrassed to show their weaknesses. And when you're approaching something that way, first of all, you're going to attract everyone into your life that's just like that. So you're already doomed from the beginning. Being open, honest, integral, and submitting to higher level leaders will allow you to succeed bigger, better, faster. And what I love about you is you're open about that. You're searching. You're always searching for that. And the one thing that your listeners can take is that's a mindset. And if you don't have that mindset, then you have a lid on your mindset. If you think you're the biggest and best in the room, you're already doomed, because if that means you're not looking for examples, you're not looking for mentors, you're not looking for people to draft behind that will be ingratiated enough to help you, because your ego's high, and small thinkers have high egos usually.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so true, man. And so from that point, from you guys searching out and finding Grant and everything, now fast forward, since, February, right? It was like, now you're, business partner with him. You guys have formed a company together. You and Nat are, have become good friends with him and Elena. You're flying on his jet. By the way, how was that?
It's fabulous, of course.
Yeah, I'll have to be on that next time with you. It's funny, when I gave him one of my hats, because it's got the G and the C. I could see his mind kind of going, I kind of like that,
Yeah.
But and so, yeah, I mean, just what you did, put yourself in that environment and proximity, putting yourself every week, you know, living here in LA, Hollywood, I go to Beverly Hills, have lunch once a week. Why do I do it? I just want to walk the streets, be on Rodeo. I want to just feel this energy, feel this vibe, feel kind of put myself in a proximity. I've met producers sitting down, having lunch at places, and just by talking to people. And so, you know, putting yourself in that proximity, some people will look and say, man, you paid how much for a ticket? You're crazy. I would never do that. Exactly.
Yeah, Grant and I talked about it. I mean, I specifically selected the seats that I selected, and I paid full price without negotiating. I just showed up. I didn't know anybody. They didn't know me. But I selected because I do a lot of speaking, and I knew exactly where your eyes go when you're on the stage. And so I selected the seats so that he would see us, I would see him, he would see we're serious, taking notes. And he knew how I'm not an idiot. He knew how much I paid for the tickets, and no one knew who I was. So already walking into a room of 35,000 people, I had an upper hand on that. And so, but I didn't care if I met him or not walking into it. I went to see if he was the real deal. Like, I wanted to do my own due diligence. And I went to a bunch of his programs after that as well. And I really, you know, because I was interested actually in investing in Cardone Capital, which I did do. But the point here is, because I told him when we had our moment to talk, I said, look, I'm looking for someone to elevate my thinking and my experiences. And I'm looking for someone to submit my leadership skills to learn from. And, you know, I'm a really good friend. I'm a really good friend with John Maxwell, who Grant, John, and I got together, you know, so it's not like I came in without knowing anybody. But the whole point here is when you have somebody who's a high producer, high achiever, everyone generally wants time or something from them. But for me, I came in and said, I'll submit, I'll help you any way I can. And so he said, here's some areas that I could use some help. I said, let me go look at them for you. And I immediately got an opportunity to work with his team and fix some things and work on some things. And then he invited me to speak at his boot camp. And I said, here's where we had a strategy session of where we both saw an opportunity.
He knows what he's doing.
Huh?
I said, he probably said about you, shit, this guy knows what he's doing.
I gave him an opportunity to do that versus coming in all crowned up. Like, you know, I'm a successful dude. You know, you should, like, I came in and I submitted. He said, why are you here? I said, because I want to learn. I want to learn what you do that I don't know how to do, but I know in order for you to want to teach me, I have to give something back to you. And he said, well, what can you give to me? And I said, I think I can build a whole third of your business out using my business experience, helping people that trust you and want the help, and you want to help them. I can bring that to you, and if you want me to. And he said, bring it out, show my team, show everyone's like, we need this. People are begging for it. So it's an easy way to work together versus I'm a big deal. I'm hugely successful. Look at everything I've done. You know, you should be so lucky to get to work with me like that. He would have just crushed me because why would a guy like that have to listen to that? He doesn't, you know.
Yeah. And he probably wouldn't.
Where's the think of the conversations that you have, dude? People, you try to help people and then they start telling you why you're wrong, or you can tell they're not paying attention, or they're not taking notes, or they're not then going and doing it. And then they tell you they tried it and it didn't work, you know, drainer. Like, look, if you want to move the dial, open your mind, follow a dynamic example, learn to do the things that they're doing, study them, replicate them. And then when you do that and you get that one moment to have a conversation, you can tell they're serious.
Yeah.
And then you want to help them. But if they're not serious and it's like, tell me again how you got started, you're like, dude, you can go read my stuff or watch my podcast or listen to my shows, but I'm not going to waste my time starting from scratch with you. If you really care, know everything you can about me and know what turns me on and what gets me excited about business, and then approach me on what you're trying to do that. Now we'll have a conversation.
Yeah. Oh, dude, absolutely, man. It's so valuable. Now, I know I want to be respectful of your time, buddy. And I know you have an appointment coming up, but I want to give people an idea. Those that are watching this, they say, man, this guy, like, I got to know, I got to get with this guy. I got to get in touch with them. I need to talk to them about helping me scale my solopreneurship, business, or my business that I have, or my real estate business, or whatever it is. How can people, what's the best way? I have your B Dawson, which I'm going to show on the screen right now. Is it bdawson.com, right?
Yeah, that's kind of my personal branding page, and it has my story and it has all my social media. Yep.
What's another way that people can reach out, connect with you, get in touch, and
they can go on Instagram at Brandon M. Dawson. or
Okay.
they can email me at brandon@cardoneventures.com.
Okay.
So those are all, I mean, if you go to Dawson, you can see most of that. Here's the thing I'm going to tell you though. You know, people always are hitting me up saying, can I get time? Can I get time? I mean, look, send me your plan. You know, if you want my time, give me something that indicates that you've at least put some serious thought into what you want to do and how you want to do it. And then my filtering system is the 2-day program. I'm doing it June 1st and 2nd at Grant Cardone's headquarters in Miami. It's a 2-day program on exactly for solopreneurs or business owners that want to fundamentally understand exactly how to lay out in their mindset and in their structure what we just talked about. It's 2 days, it's $35,000, and it will change anybody's trajectory of their business if they go through it. And if they want to do that, then just email me at Brandon at CardoneVentures.com, and I'll get you set up with one of the guys, and we'll get you set up to come. But it'll be the best investment anybody can make if they're serious about growing their business. And that's my filtering system. If somebody doesn't want to spend $35,000, and my attitude is not really serious about where they want to go, and I'm also creating a solo track for those that don't have $35,000 to be able to do it online. And that program will be rolled out in the middle of the year.
Okay, sweet. And you're going to be, obviously, I would assume, at the 10X next
Absolutely. We're going to announce where the next 10X conference is, GrowthCon. And it's going to be exciting. If you start following Grant and listening to him, you'll start picking up little secrets. You got to pay attention, though.
Yeah.
And,
I tried picking up from you, man. You're a vault, bro. You wouldn't share me anything. I go, is it close to where I live? Is it?
Hey, let me tell you about me. I work in so many businesses with so many amazing people. There's one thing that I'm a vault. No one will ever get anything out of me that somebody else hasn't told me they intentionally want me to talk about. But I will tell you this. If you're not following Grant, follow him. Start paying attention to him. We'll look at his stories, and there's little things that are coming out. You'll pick it up, and then when they announce 10X GrowthCon, get a ticket, show up, be there, and bring your game. And if you want to work, we're going to have all sorts of programs between now and then. So just start paying attention and following us, and anybody who's serious that wants to change their trajectory of their business or establish a new trajectory, or they want to think about how they can achieve a higher level of success. If you have $35,000, I don't care where you get it from, it'll be the best investment. That's a personal commitment, because I know all this struggle is self-induced, lack of awareness or understanding. And if that doesn't work, you can still come and email me. And when we launch the Solopreneur program, it'll be less expensive and it'll be mostly online. But that way I can bring assistance and help to people who can't afford to spend the $35,000. But if you can afford it, be there. And I promise you won't be disappointed.
Absolutely, buddy. And hey, man, what's your favorite hat to wear?
Your favorite? Well,
I don't know.
There you go. It depends on what I'm doing, brother. You know that.
I can't know what I'm doing. Yeah, I can't put you get your own nut.
Here, hang on a second. I left yours at home because I wear it when I play golf, so I've been wearing this one.
Oh, there we go. Hey, that one will work. The cash flow hat, man.
But I love your hat. I get a lot of compliments on it.
Really? Sweet.
Yeah, it's at my house up in Washington, and I wore it when I played golf the other day with my daughter.
And people were like, dude, where'd you get that?
Yeah. That logo.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks, man. Anyways, man, dude, I'll let you run. I know your time's precious. Thanks for being on the show, man. I'm super jacked. I'll message you or call you, text you, whatever, about coming down. I'd like to join that myself down there with you guys as far as the business and leadership stuff. So I'll get in touch with you. But thanks for being on the show. And those of you that are listening in, make sure you connect with this guy. www.B as in Brandon, D as in David, AWSON, bdawson.com. Go check this guy out if you're looking to grow your business, scale your business, improve your business to the level that you want, to create freedom in your life, to create the kind of things that you want. Check this guy out. Hey, buddy, say hi to Nat for me.
I'll do that, buddy. Thanks for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Okay, brother. Thanks, man. Have a awesome day.
Take care. See you.
Hey, you too, buddy.